This is an SM Media production.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of SM Media's Road to Cheltenham 2023. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always, and delighted as always to be joined by, from the Scottish Daily Mail, Calum McClurkin. Calum, how are we?
Yeah, all good. Quite quiet week in the racing front, given the weather, but it's going to get back to normal quite soon. And then you've got this Christmas deluge of racing, which hopefully should be unaffected.
Yeah, absolutely calm before the storm. We have had a lot of call-offs. The recap this week is not going to be it's going to kind of spread across 2 weeks. Actually, we've only picked 4 meetings across, so it shows you how quiet it's been, and they're all Irish as well. That's not a coincidence that the Irish have certainly had more luck in the racing scene than we have over here. We obviously have had a couple of retirements I want to talk about. I know we're a jump show and we talk about National Hunt racing, but we will talk about, first of all, we'll start with the jump racing jockey who retired over the weekend. Liberty Dance won the Mayor's Novice Hurdle at Thurles, and the jockey on board, Davy Russell, announced his retirement. Davy Russell, I feel, to me, this is the kind of end of an era of where I kind of grew up, because I look at the jockeys I grew up with, the likes of Geraghty, Walsh, McCoy, even Richard Johnson. Davy Russell was probably the last one of them, and now he's retired. Surprised by the timing. I thought maybe he would, if he was thinking about it, maybe wait to next week where he could potentially ride a couple of Grade 1 winners, but a marvellous jockey, and probably fitting that he chose to go out in the quietest way possible.
Yeah, that's kind of his quiet, unassuming style, isn't it? Yeah, top class jockey. I just think the man for the big occasion, no matter how high pressure scenarios seem to be, it just completely didn't affect him. He was that good. He was just level head through it. Tremendous judge of pace. I thought, you think, these Cheltenham handicaps, how many winners he got? He always seemed to be in the right position to give himself a winning chance all the time. His association with Tiger Roll probably elevated him. He had to maybe wait for his opportunity when Walsh and McCoy kind of departed the scene a little bit, but he was always so reliable. And for a jumps jockey, it's really important to kind of go out on your own terms. Never know when injuries just round the corner. He's definitely had his fair share of serious ones.
Yeah.
The last one that he came back from when he was in a neck brace for ages, was kind of, I think the hospital basically said that he was odds against to actually walk properly again. So I think that was kind of the reminder that I think he was planning to go out, and maybe the timing of it's a bit of a surprise, early mid-season, but I think his body was telling him what to do, and he had to listen this time. And it's tremendous that all of them that you've mentioned, all the jockeys have gone out and escaped unscathed as well from amazing careers.
Yeah, absolutely. Can I push you for a favourite Davy Russell ride or memory?
There was so many in different occasions. There's not really one that incredibly sticks out. Lord Windermere in the World Cup.
That was the one I've got. Yeah,
really late. Tiger Roll's first national as well was probably quite good. Presenting Percy in the handicap first night around. I think there's a lot of complaints about the weight, and I think you get like a couple of winners despite thinking that he was handicapped out of it. So yeah, I don't think there's specific rides. I just think he was always on the premises, and if there was if you were on a really short one in the Grand National, like a Tiger Roll, you just want him on because he'd get the job done.
Absolutely, yeah, tremendous jockey. Next one we'll talk about, obviously, the news about Frankie Dettori. He's going to retire at the end of next year's flat season. Maybe the opposite of Davy Russell, where Frankie's kind of preparing everyone. He's going to go on a farewell tour. I think he's riding in Santa Anita on Boxing Day as well. He's starting the ball rolling with what typical Frankie, wants to make it the biggest show possible. Frankie Dettori, a legend. If you think of flat racing, you think of Frankie Dettori.
He's one of these rare figures that transcend outside racing.
Yes.
Don't really get anymore. So his loss in that is definitely an enormous void. Showboater, flashing style. Again, a tremendous judge of pace and
Oh,
where
yeah.
horse in a race, whether it's from the front or out the back. A career that spanned so long. These magnificent seven kind of propelled it onto the scene at Ascot.
That's the best. That's the best horse racing story of all time for me. There's everything about that is just unbelievable.
Oh yeah, I mean it's completely unrivaled, isn't it?
It's yeah.
He's a global name. He's a complete ambassador to the sport, and it'll be interesting what he does afterwards, because I think racing need these people to kind of stay around and fight their corner more and more.
And he's going to have a lot of good riding next year as well. You look at like Inspiral, Emily Upjohn, probably a couple I'm forgetting as well. He's going to have a lot of chances to get out on a high.
Yeah, he's got a good chance. Commissioning's probably a leading fancy
Yeah.
for Guineas, for instance. Yeah, you'd expect him to get some decent rides, top level, group level, bow out the Breeders' Cup, California at the end of the season. So it's definitely going to be global. You'd imagine he'd have a chance in an arc again or something like that. Particularly if these kind of middle distance 3-year-olds that John Gosson has do materialise, and he definitely have a leading chance there. But yeah, he's going to milk it for what it's worth, and rightfully so.
As he should, yeah. Absolutely. Two brilliant jockeys. If you've got your favourite Russell and the Tory memories, please send them in on the comments. We'll move into our questions. We got a couple this week. First of all, who is the best and worst value favourite for the festival? Best first.
The best is definitely Florin Porter.
That's the one. Aye.
He's 4-1.92, which is a bit of a price. He was a two-time winner of the race. There was an update about Blazing Cars next in the market that was pretty negative. And it's more or less the same bunch again. Maybe Teahupoo could make an impact, but he'll need rain. Bob Ollinger, if he comes good, possibly another new name in the scene. But you're looking at your Classical Dreams and Champs and Paisley Parks of the world again, and he's still young enough. He's 7 going 8. Win that again. So I think 41.92 for him is reasonable enough. Worst value.
There's not much else. The one I've got written down at Florin Porter, I think, is probably the one. But Delta, 13-8? Do you see anything beating him in the cross country?
Probably not at this stage. But I mean, cross country, it's been called off twice, isn't it? Because I'd imagine it'd be fast ground, and it was soft last year, and that played into his hands. On his Punchestown reappearance, did look good, but he did beat a vastly inferior rival by a short head, and on ground that was a bit quick for him on a trip that was slightly too short. I think prices like that are, you're talking sub 2-1. I think it's a bit skinny at this stage.
Yeah, value is not going well in the anti-post market for a lot of us this year. Worst value favourite, you could have about 4 or 5 here, but the one I've settled on is John Bon. Not knocking the horse, but 5-4 for the Arkle when we're beginning to see the Mullins Brigade beginning to take count. We'll probably have another one today to talk about. I appreciate it, Leda Marca. El Fabiolo runs today. Again, I've said it before. A lot of these horses would probably give them a race over hurdles. So if they translate it to fences, it's probably going to work out the same for me. I can't have him at 5-4. Not saying he won't win and he's not been impressive, but 5-4 to me is very skimpy.
Yeah, there's a bit of depth to it now, isn't there? Particularly the Irish Challenge. He's not going to really meet them in company. Yeah, I think that was probably high in my shortlist as well for worst value. There's so many of them. I think evens for Facile Vega and the Supreme is a bit ridiculous as well. Given that there's still plenty of newcomers to kind of come out in the Supreme market. Jet Powers, certainly no mug. Marine National is going to be put away for it. He seems fairly decent. And it's just the fact that he's not ran in graded company yet. He's won a maiden where there was a clutch of no hopers on trials in behind. So I think evens is short enough. It's as if he's already ran at that kind of grade 1 level already and proven himself, which isn't quite the case. But I can see why, like with John Monarcle, you can see why bookmakers have been very protective, because they're undoubtedly obvious favourites in talent.
Yeah, absolutely. Final question. What is the biggest winner you've ever had at the Cheltenham Festival? Go with you first.
In terms of anti-post, it was Damn the Company in the Coral Cup at 25s and 33s. Place in January, get back to the 5-1 favourite, and Barry Geraghty was on board. And it touched off Black Tears. On the day, Solar Impulse won the Grand Annual a fair way back. That was 28-1. So those are the two biggest ones I've had at the festival.
I had a wee saver on Lisnagar Oscar winning the stairs at 50-1. Remember when Paisley Park was really short and you thought, yeah, it'll just win by daylight, and I was trying to find something in behind it, maybe come best of the rest. Lisnagar Oscar won. Paisley Park kind of didn't go well in the day, but I've got a wee Super Heinz I want to talk to you about. I probably have never shared this with you. 2015, remember the year that the Mullins and Walsh had the 4 hot pots on the Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I had the 4 on a Super Heinz with the Druid's Nephew, which won the Ultima, and Irish Cavalier won the, I think it was the Close Brothers. And I didn't back Cause of Causes, but I'm sure Cause of Causes won the National Hunt Chase. 5 winners, would have been 6 if we know what happened to Annie Power. Still done okay, still paid my festival, but I still think I'd be dining off it now if the 6 1 had won. Annie Power, if Annie Power had stayed in his feet, it was into possibly. I wasn't as much as 5 figures actually, but it was close. But still done okay, still done reasonably well. But I imagine just 1 winner, Ruby had stayed in his feet. What a day that would have been.
Yeah, I've had a fair few that have been one leg away from immortality, so you can speak. But you can still get very, very good financial positions from that anyway. So yeah, there's been a fair few decent days, but a few bad ones as well.
Yeah, definitely. We will, obviously, we're going to do a wee bonus show on Friday, kind of covering the Christmas period, and we're also going to ask for some questions as well. If you've got a question, send it in, and we will move into the recap, which is not going to be as long as usual. We're going back to Sunday the 11th at Cork. We've got 5 horses to talk about. We will start with the 3-year-old hurdle there. We saw Blood Destiny for Willie Mullins. Nice performance, 20-1 now for the Triumph Hurdle. Again, Blood Destiny looked decent enough, nice performance, but is he going to be the best of the Mullins bunch for the Triumph, or is he potentially one for a Boodles?
Well, Willie Mullins hinted that he wouldn't be, but the campaign was a Grade 1 horse because he wasn't really showing a great deal at home. But it was impressive the manner he did it. It was quick, very slick over his obstacles. Yeah, he's going to be thrown in campaigned as if he's a Triumph horse. So yeah. I think they'll try and go down that route. 20-1, probably maybe a bit big actually, but there's a Lossy Mouth there, there's Zarak the Brave. You'd imagine Paul Townend would be on one of them, rather than this chap. But that doesn't necessarily rule him out. He's just maybe a bit down the pecking order at the moment. Yeah,
we'll move into Arte Brazil. 14s for the Ballymore. Nice for the Bromhead. Looked a bit keen, but you could tell there was a lot there. Turned into a bit of a mess of a race. That Mercury for the Richies didn't run well at all. There was a couple in behind that you thought maybe run better in the day. Still a lot to take out of the winner. I think he could be potentially quite promising.
He's going to improve, and he looked versatile trip-wise. Probably go back down. 2 miles. So I think Henry de Bromhead is a lot of Kenyan miles to choose from. They might opt with him as a kind of supreme candidate. Yeah, it was a good performance, but you'd just be interested to see him next time out up in grade, see what he can really do. Interesting one as well. Arte Brazil was meant to run in that famous Goring Park bumper. Remember the one that Bob Bollinger and Journey With Me won, and they pulled him out on the day. And who backed him anti-post that day for the Ballymore? Probably. Hello. Yeah. So I'm sitting okay. I think I'm sitting at 25 or something. Decent price. Good performance. I think another de Bromhead horse that we should talk about is Hidden Valley Lake. 6-1 for the Albert Bartlett, kind of roughly sharing joint favouritism with Grange Clare West. Looks a top 3 mile prospect. There was a lot of potential there. I thought a really nice performance. Probably the performance of the day, I would have said. Yeah, probably best performance from an Albert Bartlett contender yet. He's definitely preparing himself to favourite for that race in my book. But as I suggested, I think there's plenty of these types of horses.
There is, yeah.
This season. I think there's a good 5 or 6 that could probably reach this kind of level. I think it could be a really kind of hot Albert Bartlett division this year. There's a lot of good 3 mile stayers. He'll go to Clonmel next, and he'll be campaigning like a good thing like Mona Lee and Manila Indo were.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly the plan they're going to have with him. Impervious won the Mayor's Chase. They're beating Dino Blue 4-1, kind of second favourite roughly for the Mayor's Chase at the festival. Made all jump really well. I think this horse could be potentially one of the horses to take out of the weekend. I didn't think this horse would potentially be a festival candidate at the start of the season, but she certainly looks to be the one to beat so far in the Mayor's Chase division. Yeah,
beat a good yardstick in Dino Blue. Problem is, this is novice form, and if you go to Mayor's Chase, I mean, Ellie Mae, Scarlet and Dove, okay, you could kind of knock that a little bit, but it's a solid 150 rated operators. They haven't reached that level yet. I don't understand why they're half the price. I know it's, but is potential over form in that regard. I mean, it's a good novice beating another good novice.
Yeah.
When Ellie Mae and Scarlet and Dove are fully tuned, they're proven graded players in this. See why they're out to 8, 9-1, and Allegory, Devassi and Impervious are like 4s. Are they twice the horses they are at the moment? No. I think there's definitely obvious improvement there, but you've got to see how they run in open company before backing them for 41 for a Mayor's Chase.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's I kind of think with this division as well, you've got the thing of, it's one of the only races you would say where novices take on the graded operators kind of straight away. Is that going to be the case going forward? Has this race still got a long way to go before it kind of develops?
It's a long way to kind of establish itself and what it wants to be. 2 years of it, you're not really going to know. And I think that's why people are really desperate to look at new blood and new types and really kind of see, well, this going to be the horse that's really going to kind of, stamp itself for it. They were all essentially novices in its first inception. Also, there's nothing really to stop them running in an Arkle instead, and getting £7 that way. So it is worth kind of keeping that in mind. I mean, Impervious showed a lot of speed. If it was shaping up to be a weak Arkle, which it isn't, you could theoretically go that way instead. There's more credence to win a Grade 1 Arkle getting £7 than a Grade 2 Mayor's Chase, which you can run in till you're like age 10. You can run there every season when you're in open company. You only really get one chance in an Arkle if you've won a race in your novice season. So there's options. There's ways to kind of go around it, but it's a race that needs to kind of establish itself a little bit more.
We'll go into Energumene is now 5-6 for the Champion Chase. Again, didn't really have much to beat, but out of 10, what would you give that for a seasonal reappearance?
Yeah, I'd give that a solid 8 probably. It was no nonsense, done with minimal fuss. They just reverted back to front running tactics, and it worked a treat. He's going to scare a lot of horses through his career, and he goes through this tried and tested path that starts in Cork and will invariably end at Punchestown as well. So he's just going to plunder the usual races, and it's shaping up to be a bit of a duel between him and Edwardstone, isn't it, for the Champion Chase?
It's looking more like obviously last year. I don't think he went to Christmas. He's obviously going to go to this, maybe back to Clarence House or the Dublin Chase, then on to Cheltenham. That seems to be the kind of idea.
Yeah, he's going to skip Christmas. He's not in the Christmas entries. So
yeah.
Clarence House might be a bit quick. I can see him waiting maybe just for the Dublin Chase.
Yeah, possibly.
Cheltenham, and then you'll keep him fresh at Punchestown with 4 runs.
Yeah, nice performance from Energumene. We'll move into the Sunday after that, the 18th at Thurles. A couple to talk about. Ramirez won the beginner's chase there. Nice performance. Kept on well. 14-1 for the Brown Advisory. The Brown Advisory market is absolutely wide open, and Willie Mullins is about the first six or seven out of the first 10 in the betting, and Ramirez is another string to that bow.
Yeah, he's got so much firepower on these novice divisions anyway. It's how he splits them up. Willie Mullins has always rated this guy from his bumper days. It's what he finds off the bridle though in a proper race hasn't really been that impressive. So until that's kind of been proven a little bit more, I'd be a bit wary of him for an assignment like a Brown Advisory at 12, 14 to 1.
Yeah, I wouldn't back him with that price, but there was certainly a decent performance in there. Liberty Dance, obviously David Russell's last ride, won in nice fashion, 12 to 1 now for the Mares Novice Hurdle. Do you think she could potentially be a player in that division?
Yeah, I think there's quite a few that are Lucia at the moment, and yeah, she's definitely one of them. There's probably a reason why David Russell picked that as the last, because I think they're must be pretty confident that she'll do the job, and they must be confident that she's pretty smart. Again, just another one that you'd see Upton Grade probably reveal a little bit more. Yeah, she would have an each chance. I think she'd be on most people's radar.
Yeah, definitely. We'll move into Monday in Punchestown. It's what unites us. Won a pretty hot kind of hurdle, actually. Beat Carthonic, who obviously won at Ayr a few weeks ago in quite impressive fashion. There was a massive drift for Gavin Cromwell's horse, and it kind of showed because he just never got in the race at all. But it's what unites us. Could be potentially one to keep an eye on. 25 to Supreme. There's certainly something to take from that.
Yeah, it ties in a lot of early season form for Gordon Elliott. Horses that we mentioned before, it gives boosts for Gavin Cromwell's path to Rue early on this season. Horses like that. He's rather shown his hand a little bit. He could be a handicap project later down the line. If you get a couple more runs in him, you can qualify him. He's probably more of that level than a Supreme player, but he can run probably honourably in grade 2s, 3s like that. If you want to campaign him around maybe a big handicap, he'd definitely be of interest, I think.
Yeah, we'll move into the John Durkin, where Galopin Deschamps showed his class, actually, a brilliant performance. 74 now for the Gold Cup. Just as you said earlier to me when we were talking about this on Monday, he made everything in the race look very, very ordinary, and they're not ordinary horses, but he's the real deal, isn't he?
Yeah, it was a very good performance. You know, his jumping, how he injects speed into things. The way he settled would definitely provide hope to definitely get the Gold Cup trip.
Yeah,
it's only kind of slight doubt in people's minds is he's shown so much speed. You know, would he get the Gold Cup trip? Now, you don't really get the chance to try the Gold Cup trip when you go to the Gold Cup because of that extra kind of quarter of a mile attached to the 3 miles. But he gets 3 miles. The way he settled there, I don't see it being much of a problem because he is learning. He's getting better, and he's learning how to race and mind himself a little bit more because in quite a lot of time, you know, he was very relentless and very hard on himself. And I think Willie Mullins knew what he had, and he was just being mindful of making sure that, you know, I think this is a Gold Cup horse. I'm going to lightly campaign him and make sure that I'll make sure he'll be ready for the day. So yeah, he's undoubtedly the one to beat. You know, he's gone out there and proven himself in open company.
The one obvious glaring thing you look at is the price, 7-4 for a Gold Cup. Fair?
It's just very short this time out for a race of that nature, isn't it? There was quite a lot of kind of. He's very Florida Pearl-like, who get beat, and he was a lot longer. He was a lot longer price as well, and that it's just changed days in that regard. And there's decent rivals behind it. I mean, they found an excuse with Aplutard, so he'll probably reasonable to expect he'll bounce back. And Little Press has done nothing wrong. Protecting that looks better this season. Noble Yates looks like a bit of a freak Grand National winner that can definitely make a noise in the Gold Cup division as well. So it's a bit of depth in behind. But I do think that he's undoubtedly the top class angle of the race.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But if he makes a mistake or something like that, you know, there's more than enough rivals to take advantage.
There's the thing, obviously, the comparisons maybe different types of horses to the Tour, but obviously the big thing was, can they stay the trip? Do they have too much speed for a Gold Cup? Are they kind of maybe going a year too soon? The fact that they didn't do it with the Tour, does that make you think that they will definitely kind of go, that's why they're going straight for this? Because they could easily, if Allaho doesn't make the Ryanair, for example, they've got a ready-made Ryanair winner there, but just the way they kind of didn't do that with the Tour in the past, is it more a case of we've learned from our mistakes in the past, Galopin, we need to make him a Gold Cup horse?
Yeah, I think the Tour, Galopin de Champs has this as well. The Tour at the time had age of his side.
Yeah.
You look like, yeah, we'll go Ryanair this season, it'll be Gold Cup next season, that kind of thing. Will they do the same with this fella? They won't if Allaho's fit. The exchanges imply that, and Willie Mullins' quotes imply that he's definitely Gold Cup. They're not thinking about Ryanair regardless, and that looks to be the case. It's always in the back of your mind. I mean, when Honeysuckle, when Constitution Hill bolted up, and Honeysuckle kind of, you were thinking, well, we could always go to the Mayor's Hurdle. It's there. It's in the back of your mind, and these are the type of things that can dilute festivals in that regard. And he did it last season, and we thought, I was on fancy prices for all the Brown Advisory things, saying this is a 3 miler. There's absolutely no way we'll go 2.5 and the tunnel's cut up and they went that way.
And that's the thing as well. He's won a 3 mile novice hurdle
really
well, so I don't think trip's an issue.
And on pedigree, it shouldn't be an issue either.
No.
But again, just visually, the way it's about his business, you would say he wouldn't look out of place in a champion chase, would he? I mean, so I mean, all the best horses are flexible over various trips. I mean, Cato Star was a complete prime example of that. There's a case that he didn't actually really genuinely properly stay the Gold Cup trip himself, but he still won 2 of them. Yeah, he certainly has the potential to be of that genuine top class level, and that's why he's priced up so prohibitively to win a Gold Cup.
Yeah, another Mullins bow to the novice chase division. Appreciate it. Won his beginner's chase, 4-1 now for the Arkle, which seems to be the plan to go the Arkle route. We've both agreed in the past that this horse could potentially go up in trip, and watching that race again, I thought he could potentially maybe be a one to go up in trip again. He is a good horse. I know he's 8 turning 9. He is a good horse.
Yeah, you just think about the setbacks that he's had, and you think, can you really dive in at 4s? Is he completely over them? You'd probably improve for that. It's a beginner's chase, and we want to see him up in grade before backing him at 4-1 for an Arkle, which looks a decent race this year. And can they keep him sound? The ground was in his favour. I think quick ground 2 miles could be maybe a bit concerned that a John Bond would outpace him at some point. And he's 8 going 9, which is against the trends, but it was against the trends in the Supreme. He's just a little bit, because of the setbacks he's had, he's just a little bit backward in that regard. So yeah, he looked to chase. They went the champion hurdle route out of necessity. Ran well to a point, then blew up. He is proving that he's getting over his problems, but would you be surprised if you heard that he had a setback in the new year? You wouldn't, and that's why you can't take 4-1, in my opinion, about an Arkle for him.
Yeah, I think 4-1's a little bit short. We'll move into the final race at Punchestown. Slade Steele won the bumper on the last race. They made nice headway from the back. Came from the rear to win the race. 16-1 for the bumper. Henry de Bromhead does not really target the bumper. He's got a couple of maybe Barry the Butcher as well that potentially are horses for the future. I think horse for the future's fair for this guy, because I don't think he'll be going the bumper route at Cheltenham.
Probably not. He'll probably miss the race. Almost every bumper I'm seeing is a slowly run farce, and I'm getting sick of the concept of the race now, to be honest. If you're backing Blizzard of Oz into 1-2, you're wondering what Patrick Mills is doing. I mean, how many stairs that they just go slow and then turn into a sprint and get beat is it's beyond me.
Yeah.
I feel a bit of a waste of time. all these bumpers. I think Chapeau de Soleil's probably going to improve massively, and he's probably the one to be on at this stage. But again, people are noticing that, and it's been cut for no real reason other than visual impression, and it's probably the strong hint. But it is open. We've not seen a Facile Vega yet, or
No, we certainly
a
haven't.
Gerhardt, or a Kilcrut. We haven't really seen anything of genuine significance. You think, yeah, well, I can't see that getting beat. Not yet, anyway.
Nah. Tuesday, Nace, a few to mention. First of all, Journey with Me won the beginner's chase. 14-1 now for the Brown Advisory. How he stayed on his feet at the last, I'll never know. There's a couple of horses to take out. We'll start with the winner. Obviously, it was 2 mile 4. He potentially could be one to go up and trip.
Yeah, he looks like a 3 miler, doesn't he? It was nice to see him complete, and that should be a big confidence booster for him.
There's always a fear in the back of your head, though, that he's going to make a mistake.
Yeah, the way sometimes he runs, he's gone out like a light, hasn't he? You'd think keeping him sound is difficult as well. Yeah, 3 miler with a bit of cut in the ground, I think is what you'd be looking for. But in an open division, you'd have a chance, but I think there's a few that are maybe a bit better than.
Yeah, Flame Bearer was obviously one we were quite excited to see. There was a lot of chat, obviously, from the Mullins team about him. Third in the race, didn't really stay. He could potentially want to go back and trip. Do you think he's potentially one you could put back and trip and he could be an Apple player now?
I'm a bit wary of this horse. I think he definitely should go back and trip, but there was when the reports of his schooling really well and beforehand, Willie Mullins, that tends not to be a great sign, to be honest. And see when they get them off, likes of Pat Doyle, and when they get them off second hand, they're not first rate horses.
Nah.
So sometimes they buy like one from the Triumph that makes a glaring impression, like and a GP McManus or a Rich Ritchie comes in, and they move him to Willie Mullins, and then they propel to the front of all the anti-post markets. Got to think, well, why are they there in the first place? Why were they missed beforehand? And usually get up and grade, they get found out. No doubt he's talented. I know they probably needed the run. It was maybe an unsuitable race for him, trip wise and ground wise. 2 miles and on better ground will probably suit him more, and it might play to his strengths. And he might come good in the long run, but he's not on my radar at all for any of the big novice races at Cheltenham. The
rescheduled Navan Novice Hurdle was moved to Nace on Tuesday, and it produced a really exciting finish. 2 horses that you've spoke about quite a bit. You've tipped up 3 Card Bragg, who was obviously second. In the pocket, one for Henry de Bromhead. 2 nice horses and a really exciting finish to this race. And just take the floor because I think you want to talk about the both of them.
Yeah, a couple of flights missed out.
The
end and it wasn't run at a breakneck speed, which probably didn't help the second. The winner cruised into it like the best horse in the race and just about saw it out. He looks like a Ballamore contender. 10s, 12s to 1 for in the pockets. Reasonably fair enough. Probably appreciate a bit more cover coming late as well. 3 Card Bragg, he's just a really likeable, honest horse. I mean, he gallops, finds for pressure really well. He looks versatile enough. He can hold his own there. At 2.5 miles, he could go up and trip to 3. So Albert Bartlett, potentially he could go there. He's had 3 runs now, so potentially he can wait and see if you get a mark that's reasonable for a Martin Pipe. He's top of the anti-post list for that. And 20-1 for a Ballymore, it might be outpaced, but 2 mile 5 and heavy ground, he could probably cope with that. So in any race, he's been cut to 5s from 14s. And he could go in any of those 3 races, really.
Definitely.
He wants. He's versatile enough. He's probably just below top rank because he's shown his hand often enough. But Albert Bartlett, usually having a lot of runs is beneficial for that, and he's one of few novices that have managed to get 3 runs under his belt already. So you need 4 to qualify for a decent handicap mark. So it's not as if it's not as if you can just pluck one out of thin air and put it in a handicap anymore. Like Stateman, stuff like that. So
No.
it is more kind of exposed form. So you won't get many unexposed types in these handicaps, and he's potentially one because they're getting enough runs in him as a novice, and he takes his racing really well. He's not ran a bad race yet, which is always a good sign that he's consistent. Deeply Superficial was an absolute notions of two as well in third and fourth. So all the right horses came to the fore and they pulled well clear of the rest. Absolute Notions and Deeply Superficial probably just below Grade 1 standard. Probably Grade 2, Grade 3 horses, but they could pay their way in a long term as well. It was a good looking race.
Yeah, it was a lot. I think there was a few good horses to take out. The race after that saw Empire at Pay for the Mullins team as well. 14th for the Supreme. The turn of foot at the last kind of 200 yards showed that this horse could be potentially one for the future. Yeah,
very good performance in 2 mile 3. Willie Mullins is mooting the Moscow Fly for him, so that's 2 mile go back and trip. But it was a strong headwind they were running into at Naas as well, so he does definitely have a bit of stamina. Quickening like that and galloping to line like that is in those type of conditions and debuts is pretty impressive, and I think that's why you're always mindful of taking evens and 11 to 10 about Facile Vega. You never know when one of these pops up and it asks a different question, and before you know it, there's 4 or 5 of these kind of type of horses now that are unexposed. You don't have no idea what they're about. That could go on to any sort of level. So Will Mullins is going to campaign a good one. He had a couple of useful updates as well about Sir Gerhard, not happy with a piece of work. Mrs. Christmas and Vauban as well. He's not particularly enamoured about him going in and thinks that 4 turning 5 is going to be a difficult season for him. So in the short to medium term, but those two you'd be a bit
you'd be very wary. Yep. Alka de Taber is now 12 to 1 for the Mares Novice Hurdle. Travelled strongly, won by 11 lengths. She's another one of these Mares Novices who could potentially be one to keep on the right side of.
Another one in the mix, and let's wait and see what happens next time out. Upton Grade, I'd imagine, but it's open up. Lucia is an obvious favourite, but a lot of favourites have bombed out before in this race. It's always more open than it seems.
Yeah. We're just recording this just after El Fabiolo has won. We haven't seen the race, but I've just been told that a couple of jumping mistakes, but he's now 9-2 for the Arkle. We obviously were watching this we're talking about this with kind of blind view because we haven't seen the race, but 9-2. He's another one who could potentially be an Arkle contender, and he's got that form with John Bon as well.
He's just another iron on the fire for Willie Mullins. A bit of a late bloomer last season. He's won that at 1-5. He's probably done what he's expected to do in the market. Learn from a couple of mistakes. Obviously, we'll watch it back and see, but it's just a nice start. It's just nice to get these horses out after the delay that he's had, and he's another one that will be probably aiming at the Irish Arkle and then go to the Arkle.
Yeah. We've obviously, the recap, it wasn't as big as last week, and we're going to do a special, instead of what's coming up, we're going to do a special Christmas preview show on Friday. But I want to get your thoughts, Calum. We obviously think of Christmas, it's going to be obviously about spending time with the family, but it's the week after that, isn't it? It's the non-stop racing that we all look forward to.
Yes, it all starts in the Boxing Day, the King George, and it just rumbles on from there, particularly with Irish racing just getting stronger and stronger.
Mm-hmm.
On their own back door, just have to take all that in as well. There's so many places. I think there's 8 different meetings in Boxing Day alone, so there's definitely plenty for everyone. As an early marker, I like the home press for King George.
So damn, can I come around to him as well?
The rain's coming for him as well. So I think him, Jerry Colombi for the Faugheen Novices Chase, and Flooring Porter for the Christmas Hurdle on the 28th. The treble's about 22 to 1, something like that. So that's a decent kind of pre-Christmas one to potentially look forward to.
I find it really interesting that obviously we're going to see that you've got 4 Grade 1s at Kempton, obviously with the rescheduled Long Walk Hurdle. That's going to play very different for likes of Champ and Paisley Park. It's going to be you've got likes of Miranda coming in here. She's going to get the allowances. Miranda's been gambled ridiculously short in the past couple of weeks. She's now 9-4. I think she could be the one to look at here, because with Champ and Paisley Park, Goshen's in there as well. Botox ass. Goshen again, is he going to stay 3 miles? Botox ass potentially. The long walk hurdle is a really, really good race.
Yeah, at Kempton, which you'd think. I mean, I remember Champ had a novice outing at Kempton, and Nicky Henderson said the track was not really suitable for him. It's probably in the sharp side for Paisley Park as well. So you can see the angle there and taking 2 of them on. The market's obviously dropped in Miranda. If it rains, Goshen probably a bit of a contender. You can give him a shout. Botox has as well, seems to be on the upgrade. So it's a nice open looking race. The fact it's at Kempton probably puts more question marks on the established duo of Champ and Paisley Park, but you know they are Grade 1 operators at the end of the day, so you still need to give them plenty of respect.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to wrap up the show there, and we're going to cover, obviously, we don't have an Ante post pick this week. We're going to say one for Friday, Calum, are we?
Maybe find one on Friday. There's just not a lot of appeal right now to get involved, and you know they're obviously going to change massively after Christmas, aren't they? So there might be more opportunities there, but some of the handicaps are early priced as well now.
I've seen that, yeah.
Given for the kind of 7 or 10 days completely without racing, it's given the bookies some time to price that up. So yeah, we'll keep scouring and try and find, but I think it's wise to by and large, keep your powder dry at this point.
Yeah, but we're going to wrap up the show there, Calum. It's been an absolute pleasure as always, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks again.
Brilliant. Thank you very much to everyone who's tuned in. Please send your questions for Friday, because we're going to have a week and a question session as well. And obviously, we're going to do a Christmas preview. So if you've got Christmas tips, Christmas selections, please send them in, and we'll see you all for the final show before Christmas. Thank you.